Hello
Hello.
there.
Hello, is this real? Is this real life? Are we
Yes,
doing this again?
here we are again, back in the
Yes.
saddle.
Yeah.
Hello everybody. We spent the last 2 weeks in a spiritual incubator, surrounded by Kabbalistic texts and meals and songs. And uh, I had 15 of those Kabbalists sleep at my house after one of those events. Made a giant meal, everybody. Just a glimpse of the future world where everyone's taking care of each other. We laughed, we cried, prepared food for each other. Basically, everything you can imagine. By the way, welcome to the Great Transition. We're talking about being a Kabbalist in this world, looking behind the curtain of what the screen. Imagine that this world is like a 3D computer screen. And what is the code behind there that's projecting this world for us to understand who we are and what we're doing in this simulation here? So, after the spiritual incubator we were in typical earthly fashion, after summer comes fall, and after fall comes winter, and we have cycles of the soul also. Our development after we come down from that exalted place and re-enter work and bills and earthly responsibilities.
Hmm.
Um, so here we are. We're going to unravel the mysteries of our lives behind the curtain of what are all of these changing cycles. Where are we in all of those? Why? I remember that in my illustrious history, I tried being Orthodox for
Uh-huh.
like 6 years. And I
Orthodox
remember being
Christian?
really Orthodox Jew. I remember
Ah,
opening the Shulchan Aruch, and I had so many problems
So
because,
the
like,
Shulchan
all of
Aruch
this
is
is
the book that details all of the physical rituals and customs that are referred to as mitzvot. Yeah? Okay.
so.
Because
If I
you
was
just
thinking, if
throw that
all of
word
these
around,
things,
not everyone knows that.
okay. So if all of
Yeah.
these things are God's law, I thought to myself, so how can I pick and choose? Like, I have to burn my fingernails, even to every last. I mean, after you clip them, not while they're on the hand, but like every last thing you can possibly do with your physical body is like detailed how you're supposed to do it. And I'm thinking to myself, if this is all God's law, I can't just pick and choose. And wow, there was a really funny story that was leading up to, but I don't remember. Hopefully, I'll remember the punchline. Um,
mm, mm.
That's
damn,
a
that was a
great
good
You had
one.
that's
too
a
much of
great
a
way
good
to start a
time.
story.
Got so
Listen,
into it. I
guys,
got
there's
so
this
into it.
story
I
I really
lost
want to
it.
share with you. Not sure I have the punchline.
What a
Damn.
tease.
Give us
No,
the
no, it was so
exposition. Yeah, we'll dwell on the exposition.
okay. All right. So let's get back to where we are. So let's
Okay.
say you come back from this big world Kabbalah convention. Everyone's uniting above
Maybe
all.
say something about that because we were gone a long time. Maybe some people are like, "Wow, what is it? They went camping?" Like, because you do say, we're coming back to our world with bills and families and stuff, and it is kind of a weird mind switch where even if you go on some
Mm-hmm.
vacation, a regular vacation, you go, I don't know, to the tropics, which something is like drastically different, and you like live in a certain reality for a second, and then you come back and you're like, whoa, this is actually real life. This is what, you feel heaviness. So
Yeah.
there is kind of like a difference. There's something that happens like when you go on vacation, but maybe talk a little bit about what even went down the past couple weeks. Like
And
you
and
guys
and,
were
uh,
even in the States for a second too.
and guys, just a quick tech thing. I would like to hear both of you louder. And I think my monitor is like all the way up. So I'm not
That's
sure.
weird.
Okay.
I'm not
My
sure
mic is
if
all the way.
is it really okay. Seth, you
Yeah.
okay? I
Yeah, I
mean,
can help a little bit.
maybe bring it
That
closer,
that should
Chris.
help a little bit.
It's reaching all the way it can
Yeah, it is
go. That's
better.
just
It is better.
I can just
Okay.
maybe I'll just do a
Yeah,
complete
no, because I'm also
shift.
wondering if our viewers are hearing us at a relatively same
Yeah,
volume.
Hayes says you're much louder than us. Okay, so
There you go. So,
Well, I'm just gonna do it like
yeah,
this
I don't
then.
have my normal mic today, so my settings are off. I'm still acclimating to being on Earth.
okay, and
Okay,
I'll
I
take
don't
this.
remember. I
I'll
don't
take
remember
us just a
exactly
little
what it
far. Hmm.
exactly the whole story and the punchline, but what I do remember is that um, I didn't understand why we needed to sleep. And I
Huh.
remember asking this rabbi, like, if we're supposed to do all this stuff, so, and I was like barely sleeping at the time, just like trying to do everything I could possibly do and study and this, like, why this whole thing where we need to like stop, go to bed, not do like, what a waste. What a waste, even if it's a fifth of your day, 20% of
Hmm.
your day. For most of us, it's closer to 30% of our day.
Hmm.
Why we give up all this time. And that too is part of the processing of this whole situation. Like all these things that we talk about on this show are part of this system, the spiritual system that's designed in a special way. There's no mountaintop we're going to. This, through this simulation that we're experiencing and all of the limitations of it, through this, we find the key to exit it. You want to say something about what we just went through?
Yeah, why not? I mean, yeah,
I mean,
there's
maybe you
Chris's.
even have some viewers who were with you. I don't know if
That's
they while you were
right.
there.
That's right. I mean, first of all, yeah, Chris is right. There is, it's a definitely a change of. So in the last 2 weeks, is it? I want to say, I mean, 2 weeks, we had a Kabbalah retreat, and then the weekend after that, a global Kabbalah convention in Israel, which was also a hybrid event. All our events are always pretty much hybrid, meaning they're both virtual and physical. And what can I say without making it too long, right, of a tangent? Just that, you know, it doesn't matter how much experience you have in the wisdom of Kabbalah, how long you study it, and how deep you know the texts and the writings, and even if you have experience in communicating that wisdom, there's just another level of experience that happens when we connect with people of the same desire, with people who have this point that comes from the initial state of creation, that state of wholeness, and longs to go back to that state. And when people in whom that point has already awakened, when we put ourselves together in the same effort at the same time, sometimes in the same space, even physically, that just elevates you above yourself. And there's just no other way to describe it. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I could think of many ways to describe it. There's no way to describe it well, because it's a feeling, it's a spirit, it's something that is really beyond words. And then to do that like a week after week
Intensely, yeah.
is very intense. And it's almost like when you land back on Earth, we um, you see Earth from a whole new perspective. You know how they say about there's this something called the overview effect, right? Like astronauts. There's this common thing that happens with astronauts where they go out of Earth's gravity into outer space. They suddenly see all of Earth as one dot, one marble, blue marble, and they get this aha moment that it's become so clear to them, so obvious that we're all one thing, and we're all on the same planet, and we're floating in this infinite space. And that gives them some perspective that just can't be communicated in words. You need to be in outer space in order to experience that. So maybe to an extent, it's kind of similar to what happens in these precious moments of connection between desires for spirituality. When these sparks suddenly resonate with each other, there's a flame that doesn't belong to me, and it doesn't belong to the others, and yet it belongs to all of us, and we feel how we are part of a shared reality, a shared experience that is higher than the illusory individual experience that we have in this life. And then you come back to Earth, and then you see how all of Earth, all the Earthlings are
How they didn't experience what we
yes, exactly, and so I mean, and we've been doing this for many years, right? I mean, all of us are, the three of us at least are studying Kabbalah and practicing it for 20 years or so, more, a little more, a little less, but and still there's always this perspective and this dissonance, and this
It used to be
renewed, yeah.
very difficult at the beginning, though,
Yes, of
because
course. My very,
you were
very
so
first time,
high.
my very first kind of gathering that I was in, and that was like they were of a different nature back then, but yeah, it was a global kind of gathering in Israel some 20 years ago, and 21 maybe, and I remember I couldn't talk after, like, physically I couldn't speak for probably about 24 hours afterwards. It was because the experience. It was also a week. It was a week long retreat, let's say, Kabbalah gathering, and we really lived together in like a remote place, like a village type of thing, and just lived that, and coming back, integrating, back to planet Earth was very confusing and difficult. But yeah, it's something this is part of, however, the life of Kabbalists, the getting used to always fluctuating and moving between these two worlds, basically between these two sides of reality. The one that appears to our five senses and within space and time, and the one that we feel through our heart, that is beyond our body and beyond this world and beyond what is happening right here and now. And yet those two levels are connected, and the eternal state is gradually, as if pulling, like a magnet, gradually pulling everything that is happening in this world towards that state. And that appears, like in our world, to the Earthlings, that just appears like turbulence and sometimes even chaos, or just uncertainties, or just ambiguities, things that are weird. But from a higher perspective, it becomes very clear how it's like a huge kind of a washing machine that we are in, where we are gradually evolving our senses, evolving our emotions, evolving our desires, to the point that we can develop the kind of perception of where we truly are. And anyway, we should stop this.
That's no, I think that's good, because it's also kind of like an
They didn't expect to
invitation
go
or
that deep.
preparation or something for someone. Yeah, for someone who's maybe listening now and maybe thought about, I don't know, joining Cobb, you were coming on. So there's something, there's something that happens even when you're walking, like at these physical events, when you walk next to someone, you're not just like walking next to another body,
Yeah.
there's something else there.
Yeah.
It's like you even if you make eye contact, you're just like, you get it. Like, you're in a different place. They're in a different place. They're not concerned about the things that, that other people in the world are concerned about. And that gives you some kind of like security, gives you some kind of like confidence. Like, I'm in a different,
Yeah.
higher place.
It brings
kinda
to mind something that one of our Kabbalah students said a while ago. Actually, it was in one, not in the previous one. It was like something that a student, first time in a retreat, said maybe a year ago, and I really connected with that. It really resonated with me. When you, I'll give context. When you go to like a what kind of superstars, rock stars, or whatever pop stars exist today that people go to their shows? Taylor
Taylor
Swift.
Swift.
There we go.
There
Taylor
you go.
Swift. Yeah, I remember it because of the recent her show was canceled or
Yeah, that's
something,
probably it.
or maybe let's
Yeah.
even something better. Jane's Addiction. For those who are for those who may know, this is more from our time in the '90s. Anyway, they just canceled. Also, they canceled the show because of uh, some they fought on stage and canceled their tour. Anyway, when people go to these events, you could have, I don't know, 50,000 people, 100,000 people, and they're all cheering together and they're feeling it and so forth. But they all come to look at the rock star, look at the stage, and they what they share is their enjoyment from the event and their appreciation towards the performer,
Right.
right? In a Kabbalah retreat, you discover that the people all somehow you came for them and they came there for you. It's I don't know if I'm communicating this, but this is kind of this is something that something that one of our KBU students said, and it really resonated with me. It's true because you discover how there's a connection that brought all of these different people, and the connection is not some performer that they're after. It's a desire inside that they can't even explain it maybe to other people who are very close to them in
I
this
think by
world.
saying I
Yeah.
think by saying you
Definitely
can't
can.
explain it is more close to, because it's not like all of a sudden I don't know, sparks are flying or something. It's just
That's right. Yeah.
some other, like I remember the first time going to it was a Grateful Dead concert, but it was like this big
Oh.
concert and like this whole counterculture of people. And it wasn't just the feeling that I had by going there. It was also that I didn't have vessels for those feelings before that. I didn't even know that such a reality
Mm-hmm.
existed. So it was like, now I saw this whole new thing existed, and I was also feeling the feelings that happen in that new thing. And so you come to a place like what we're talking about here, where it's like, how is it possible that this is actually happening on Earth? Everywhere I look, everyone's fighting. The world is coming apart.
Yeah.
There's wars. Like, first of all, what the heck is this? Like, I'm almost
Mm-hmm.
like suspicious. Is this real?
Yeah.
What is this? And then also, wow, like what I feel safe. I feel connected to something bigger than me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel interconnected with
Yeah,
like all
safe's
these
a
other
good word.
feelings that happen in there as well. I'm not sure you
It's
could really
basically what
explain it.
everyone wants, but doesn't know how to get.
Okay, so let's say you're in an
Yeah.
experience like that on Sunday, it ends, and Monday, Sunday night you come home, and
Mm-hmm.
Monday it's time to go to work, and car doesn't start. Let's just say. Could be anything. Actually, when these things happen for us now, we're not surprised. What's fun is not like that something is happening. What's always fun is like, I wonder like what
What's
creative
gonna happen? Yeah, yeah,
way
yeah,
that it's going to
yeah,
happen. Yeah. So
yeah.
it's already, after it happening so many times, it's not a surprise that now that and you'll know more by the end of the show, like what this night and day, this kind of process, this between these two states that we go through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's some challenge. It's a problem with the car. So what do we do? First, now take a breath. Is it the battery? If it's the battery, just ask the neighbor, get a jump. I'm off to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the battery? Is it like my dashboard isn't lighting up? This happened to me once. I thought there was a problem with my dashboard, but it turns out on the side of over here, You can roll the interior lights brighter or dimmer. I guess like if you're in a
Mm-hmm.
tunnel or if it's not. I accidentally, with my knee, just knocked the thing. But I thought that all my dashboard lights went out. It was an easy fix. Just roll it back up. But it could be something
Mm-hmm.
more complicated. But the thing is that if it was my mom, right, it's just the car is broken, right? It's not like because she's not going to
Oh,
get her hands dirty.
we
She's not
we
going to
are
lift the hood. She's
familiar
not
with
going to
that.
test the
Yes.
battery. She's not going to look
Uh-huh.
around, right? So the car is broken.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
if you can discern a little bit, is
Yeah.
it the battery? Is it the dashboard? What is
Mm-hmm.
it? And then there's many systems in the car.
Uh-huh.
It's not just a car that's broken with one thing.
Uh-huh.
It's many, many systems inside the car. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we want to understand ourselves, it's also similar because we think that's my brain. That's just how my brain acts, or like that's what my brain does.
Mm-hmm.
That's more or less how we
Oh,
approach.
brain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here's my skull, and inside there it's a brain. That's the one I was given. Some people have a better one than me, but this is what I got. But that's not true, and that kind of thinking is holding you back, holding a person back. So if you get this little piece that we're going to talk about in the next few minutes already, not even
Mm-hmm.
something spiritual, it'll help you understand the spiritual. But if you get this piece, you already got what you paid for, what you came for today, and your life will already improve. Okay, that's a guarantee. So
Nice.
yeah, so
First, a
Mm-hmm.
word
deep
from
in
our
the brain,
sponsors. Yeah.
what? Yeah, deep in the brain, somewhere like at the top of the spine,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere I don't exactly know, but I guess if you drilled in from here, there's a
Uh-huh.
little thing called the amygdala.
Mm-hmm.
All mammals have the amygdala, all reptiles have the amygdala. It's been around for a couple 100 million years. I don't even know if that's what they call the reptile brain, but it's been around a couple 100 million years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That part of the brain that all mammals have process is emotions, reward, danger, fight or flight, quick instinctive responses. Okay. Everybody, you paying attention? In the
Yes.
last few tens of millions of years, this part of the brain, now that I have a nice hairline, you could see this part of the
Uh,
brain very clearly, this part of the skull
Prefrontal
very clearly.
cortex.
The
Yeah.
prefrontal cortex. Humans have the most developed and biggest, I guess maybe some other mammal who's bigger than us would have a bigger one, but percentage wise, we have the biggest prefrontal cortex. And that part is responsible for reason, judgment, self-control, planning, past, present, future, determining, looking at situations, figuring out what to do. Two totally different operating systems taking place inside the skull. There's others, but we're just talking about these two right now. If you get this already, you'll be able to manage your life better. So there's an ongoing struggle in us all the time. The amygdala, right? For example, if you found out that somebody stole from you or somebody said something about you, right? All day long, you're trying to work. You know you have to work. You know you have to deal with this, but all day long, how could he say that? What is this? What did he do?
Mm-hmm.
How did he do that? Checking the messages, sending the message. I can't
Mm-hmm.
believe it. Reading the messages all over again. This amygdala is hijacking what the prefrontal cortex is trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is clear, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that everyone. Hold on, let me look over in the. Okay, so
I think
Debbie
it's a
says
quite a relatable
amygdala.
scenario and understandable scenario. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good. So this is as if two brains. You can call one your like animal brain, your instinctual brain, your more feeling brain, and the other one is more modern human executive
Mm-hmm.
brain. And
Mm-hmm.
if you can start to understand what's happening in your life and say, now my amygdala is controlling what's going on. So let me deal with that. Like, okay, now is a time I'm feeling. Now is a time I feel scared. Let me figure out what's going on. Okay, now I shift to my prefrontal and I understand, okay, now I'm going to assess the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you need the amygdala. If you're in danger and you need to escape quickly, you need that part to be working. There's not one part that's good and one part that's bad. It's two parts, one obviously developed before the other one, but we use both of them. Two completely different systems of management in our brain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
just like in the car, you have all these different systems. Just like in the brain, we mentioned two. There's many others, other systems. Spirituality is a whole other system. So when we talk about being in two different worlds, going from this world and back into that world, and this
Mm-hmm.
world and that world, we should be able to see in our life, okay, amygdala, prefrontal cortex, amygdala, prefrontal cortex. The
Okay.
Kabbalist now also has a whole other system he's dealing with,
Nice.
which was everything in this universe,
Yeah.
and also
Right.
another, as if mind or another brain that's outside of this system.
Yeah.
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 I'm,
Yeah.
I'm
I,
hoping that
that's a good example, actually. I think that's a really good example to the kind of thing that we're going through when we develop according to Kabbalah. It's kind of interesting because what the example you gave, Seth, is conflictual. Like at least the example you gave, like it's a conflicting thing, meaning that you can feel one thing but know another thing, and that all happens in a single world, in a single reality.
but
In
I think most people could spend a long time just managing their life by just getting a hold of that part.
Yeah, yeah,
And then to open up spirituality is like, there's
yeah.
even more. Like, what more could there be?
Yeah. No, but it's a good example. I mean, if we extrapolate or magnify it, maybe would be the better word here. Then what happens to us in spiritual development is that we begin to see everything in this reality, this entire world, as a certain picture, and beyond that there is a deeper picture. And then as our sensation and understanding of the deeper picture grows, we begin to have a split. We begin to have a constant dissonance that we're walking around with, which is, we see the world, we see things happening, and they happen to us personally and socially and globally even, and yet we also are developing at the same time, let's say, an understanding or a perception or a feeling of where this is all coming from and why. And so you're in this constant dual kind of perception, where on the one hand, oh, this happened, I gotta go to the bank now, I gotta go to work now, the car accident, I gotta deal with lawyers now, this happened in the world, oh, this is shocking me, oh, there's this political thing now, there's elections, I need to decide who to vote for. You have all of that, and at the same time you also have another discussion with yourself, another line of reasoning that's going on, which is, what am I doing? Why am I doing all of this, and what for? Where am I going beyond the thing that I'm doing right now? Where do I wish to be with my heart? And how one thing also clothes into the other thing, because everything that we experience in this life, in this world, in this reality that appears to us as a place, a physical space where we move in 3D and things happen, that's just how it appears to us. But beyond that, there is a deeper dialogue that is happening with the force that is governing our life, developing our consciousness to get to know it. And so all of your life becomes, it doesn't disappear, but it becomes like a picture through which that encodes within it like a language that the governing force of nature is using to speak to you. And so nature speaks to us through all kinds of emotions and thoughts, and these emotions and thoughts happen through all kinds of things that happen to us in life, inside and out. So life becomes it. We don't delete life. We don't go to a cave and try to shut ourselves from life and from what's happening in the world. And no, we live life, but there's an added depth to it, an added dimension of dialogue and communication with the
So these
force.
systems,
Yeah, yeah. Go
these
ahead.
systems are like the amygdala is there, and then there's more systems, and then the prefrontal cortex. It's like Russian dolls. It's like they're layered on top. It doesn't. You
That's
don't
cool.
cancel them.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah. That.
building a more dynamic, complex, sensitive, integrated system.
It's
And
weird.
then the spiritual thing. Go ahead, Chris.
No, say about the spiritual thing at least.
Oh, the spiritual thing is another system on top of the whole system. I think it'd be helpful to maybe like think of an example in our life, because I had a lot of strong emotions that led me to feel depressed and other things, and I managed it. And this is early 20s, managed it by getting control of my life, but to the point where I cut myself off from my emotions completely. And then to actually start to feel again, because that's kind of easy. That's a really good way to manage life. You can be very successful by just cutting yourself off from emotions and just doing what needs to be done, but you lose so much flavor in life. It's like people who
Right.
like achieved everything but still feel empty inside because they're totally out of touch with like
I've
all the
met
people they
people like that too.
crushed on their way to the top. Like they're out of touch with any of the sensitive emotions, which is actually where the pleasure is felt. The pleasure is felt in the feelings. It's not felt, not just talking about just an animal, anything, but all of our pleasures are really felt as a sensation. Maybe we can talk about it, from the ground up, from even just talk about these parts of the brain, and then what happens with the Kabbalist as he develops. Because first, start developing your prefrontal cortex. You don't need to look at, Hayes wrote here something about growing up with a narcissistic parent and everything being fight or flight. Like you're constantly reacting to everything. And we see this today in politics, like they're so good at what they do. They just throw a few words into a political ad, and immediately, he's a killer, he's a Hitler, he's a that, she's a that, she's gonna kill. They're gonna, like immediately. There's no thinking. It's just
Yeah.
right to the amygdala. And so you step back and you can kind of see that. And then when you start studying spirituality, once you start engaging in spirituality, experiencing it like we did over the past few weeks, so then you have even more of a perspective
Yeah.
on all of these lower systems.
Yeah.
Can we
And
somehow develop
I would
some?
even say, I would even say, no. You know what? It's no. It's too complicated. I mean, there's something. I'll explain where my mind was going. There is something really, really visceral that we feel in this transition between being surrounded by a spiritual environment, let's say, and being surrounded by the world. You know, you can feel. I don't know how I guess those who are already like our students and have been to some extent experiencing that will identify. I don't know about others, but do you feel this? How when you come back to the world, let's say from being after being surrounded by our environment for a whole retreat, let's say, or something like that, you feel how there's this game that happens inside of you between you and the world. You feel how maybe for a few moments you're very strong against the world, so to speak. You know, the world can't confuse you. But then
Yeah.
moments later,
And
you could see how weak you are, how completely you're like in the hands of the world, and you're just you have to follow, you know, their desires and their intentions and their way of their worldview. It has to, it like it sips into to your brain and to your thoughts, to your desires, and the only and that strengthens the need to reconnect with the other, with your spiritual environment. And that's, it's a constant kind of yo-yo thing that we get to feel. But yeah, that's definitely
and you would
part
get
of
exhausted. You would get exhausted unless
it's
you.
part of the
And
journey,
that's
though.
actually
Part of the journey.
and that's
Yeah.
actually why we have these physical meetings, anyways. I guess if we're still kind of talking about that a little bit, that a person needs to go to the filling station and get that injection of like whatever it is. I don't know. We say importance, but to the normal viewer, that probably doesn't mean anything. Just energy to cope with those kinds of things. Earlier, you mentioned how, you know, we get all these different feelings, sensations, and different thoughts while we're in this world, walking around, seeing the bodies, and not really and having that second perspective. When we talk about getting like studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, then really, like, yeah, you've got the good example with the brain and how it's set up and how we have this like discourse within us. And but when you start studying Kabbalah, really you're just you started kind of developing a new seat, like a new place where you're sitting. Like here I'm like sitting behind my eyes, right, and I'm like looking at the world. Then you start studying Kabbalah, then you find yourself like in a different seat, maybe a little bit further back. Maybe Carl Sagan's pale blue dot moment. Maybe the what did you say? The over what's that?
The overview effect. Yeah.
Overview effect. A little bit of overview. It's like, what is that really? It's really just a change in how you receive all the stimulus that's coming in. Yeah, I'm still looking at the same Earth, but all of a sudden I have a different way of looking at it. Like, where did that even come from? So it's just got this different. It's this different kind of. I don't know. I guess it's like one day I'm in the driver's seat, and then now I'm in the passenger seat, and it's the same car, but it's just a different way of looking at everything that's happening to you, and it does give you strength. It's like the creator. It's like we say creator. It's like whenever you feel so confident, right? You're so confident. I'm going to the world, and it's like, you know. Sometimes you just wake up and you just feel good. And what happens to like a normal person or even to us? Something unexpected that you weren't ready for, you weren't prepared for, and that always happens to any regular person, to all of us. It's like if it happens, oh no, I thought I was ready to handle that, I couldn't, and it just like throws you in a different. You're so susceptible. You're incapable of like standing like a strong wall against everything. So what does that really mean? It just means that we're kind of just being thrown around.
Yeah.
And the question is, how am I relating to being thrown around? That's kind of like
you guys remember the I don't have the quote in front of me, but there's this quote from one of Bala Sulam's letters, where he says how the image of nature, like the image of reality, is like an iron partition between you and the creator, you and the governing force, the force that the upper force that governs everything. And the spiritual work that we do is to try to cancel those partitions that we feel, this iron partition. That's kind of the constant dance. We're like dancing around the wall and like touching it and trying to, go through it. Sometimes we succeed, and sometimes we hit the wall. But that's the kind of thing
I found it.
that you get to feel.
I don't know if you want me to read it. I found it.
If you think it works, if it's not too long, if it's not too complicated.
Let me look
but
at it.
Complicated.
No. It's a little deep, but the iron partition part is nice.
Yeah. Okay. So
so where are we headed? Yeah. What are we doing today?
This goes back to the why do we need to sleep?
Okay. Why do we need to
I
sleep?
forgot you even mentioned
why
that.
Should we answer
why do
it
we need
from?
to sleep?
Uh-huh.
No, meaning like simply, like why can't
Uh-huh.
we just always stay up?
Okay.
Why
Mm-hmm.
is there this? Why is this situation created? Because now we experience this other. Why do we say
Mm-hmm.
that a Kabbalist doesn't just leave this world and enter the spiritual world, and that's the end of the
Yeah.
story? Why do
Yeah.
we say that a Kabbalist lives in two worlds?
Why do we even need this world? Not just sleeping.
Why
Like
do I need
why?
to work?
If the
Yeah.
goal
Why do I
is
need to work?
exactly. I mean, if the goal is spiritual adhesion with the Creator, meaning a conscious experience of our connection with the force that created us, that is the goal of creation. From the Kabbalistic literature, that's how it is defined. The thought of creation, the purpose of creation, is to develop the created being so it can become similar to and therefore bonded with the force that created it. Right. So why do we need this world? Obviously, this world is a world where we don't feel any creator. We don't, we need to believe there is something. So it's belief now. Well, what's going on? Like, we feel that we live in a completely different reality with just people and physical things and nature, animals, plants, and we try to make ends meet. We try to not be too confused by all the advertisements. We try to make the best of it. Okay,
Gotta have a good
so
meal in between.
yeah, I'm not saying, try to enjoy whatever this life has to offer, but okay, why do we need all that if the goal is something beyond space, beyond time, an eternal, non-material connection with a force that fills us abundantly with everything, a sense of eternity, perfection, wholeness? Why do we need this world? And
It was
so.
designed, the
Mhm.
system was designed in such a way that not only, um, well, to add more to that, we're all influenced by the majority. So you go to meaning like if you imagine every person has like a force of gravity or some pull, we're
Mhm.
all, the reason why everyone feels so crappy all the time is because most of the people are thinking crap and
Hmm.
it's going through the air and it's infecting us. So
Yeah.
when we go to an event like this, and there's such an intensity of love and of connection, of being above that, so we're absorbed into that. And then when we leave, in Bala Sulam's words, we're infected by the multitude of desires roaming the world.
Ooh.
Such a visual thing, the
Oh,
multitude of
nice
desires that
catch.
are
This is
roaming the
this is
world,
the
right?
Shamati 25. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a.
So,
Mhm.
uh, so
Yeah.
we're
Exactly. And you feel like you have no choice but to be influenced by that. And then you have to like go back to that deeper world of connection with the others, but this time without the physical surrounding environment that you have in an event, in a retreat, in a
It's like
Kabbalah
a cheat
convention.
code.
Yeah, yeah, the retreat, exactly.
and
These events, they help us set up our heart in the right way and our minds in the right way. They help us get an impression of the kind of deep unity of the hearts that we need to achieve, even through living through this physical life on planet Earth. Yeah,
what does Rabash say qualifies the vessel for the reception of the light? He says that the light
the
entering
entrance and
and then
departure of the light. Yeah.
and then the departure of the light qualifies the light. So like I said when I went to that concert in my
Mm-hmm.
early 20s, like
Mm-hmm.
not only was I like, oh my God, this feels amazing. I'm not like in school. Like I thought life was just 9 to 5, retire, move to Florida, die. I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was the
Right.
whole trajectory.
Move to
Now I'm here.
Florida.
These people are all living like outside of that. These people are all living outside of the societal norms. The pleasure in that was great, but also I didn't know it existed. So there was like a new kli, a new vessel for that. So when we go to a retreat or something like that, the first thing that happens is this new vessel forms for us. It's filled with all this light, and then the light departs, and we're left with this new vessel that's empty. And in that same Shemati article, 25, Baal Salam mentions the prefrontal cortex. He
Does
says,
he?
well, he says that he says witty arguments won't
Oh,
help,
nice. Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Yeah.
when the light
Mm-hmm.
leaves, in order to
Gotcha.
get it back, you can't just like, okay, fine, my
Yeah.
amygdala is my amygdala. Now I'm a big heel human. I got my prefrontal cortex. Let me like sit down and sort this all out.
Yeah.
And
He says, to cling to the teachers and to the books, this is called from the mouth of the books and from the mouth of the authors. Only by clinging to them can he change his mind and will for the better. However, witty arguments will not help him change his mind, but only the remedy of adhesion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, yeah, it's such an important and great article, because I think it really captures what spiritual growth is all about, how you recognize that you cannot trust yourself, but spiritual progress is always by clinging to the upper degree, by finding
hold on, you
connection
freak me
to
out. Hold on.
yeah.
We're already experienced. When you say
Perfect.
you can't trust yourself, I know what you mean. It's freaky as hell to normal people to tell them from some spiritual people are
Okay.
telling me
Let me
not to
try a
trust
different approach.
myself and
Let
just
me
do
try.
what they say.
All right,
All of this is
he has a
built
point.
on top of the amygdala, on
Yeah.
top of the prefrontal
Okay.
cortex, on top of you
L-
having a family and having normal work and keeping a regular life. On top of all that, when my friend Asaf is saying don't trust yourself, now please, my friend,
Okay.
qualify what you're saying. So
Let me try a completely different approach. Okay. It's complete.
differentiate
He,
yourself from
here's
Scientology and everything else, please.
here's a completely different approach, right? This is just coming to me now. So the you started from asking us why do we that you had that question, why do we sleep, right? And then we expanded the question to why even have this world, right? Now if you look at everything that's happening in nature, in the world, in human life, in history, and in our personal life, even going to sleep and waking up, what we're going through in our development is a constant spiral or a cycle that deepens and deepens and deepens like a spiral of constantly moving like in a circular fashion. That is what creates constant changes of day and night and dawn and dusk, and waking up and going to sleep and feeling good, feeling fulfilled, and feeling empty. At the end of the day, the dynamic behind the scenes of reality is the light and the vessel. There's nothing more than light and vessel, the creator and the created being. And that relationship is, like you said before, it's a relationship that is designed to take the vessel through enough ins and outs of the light, of the relationship with the light, so that it develops, it evolves to become like the light. And so that is what creates all of it's the movement of the stars in the cosmos. It's why everything moves in cycles. It's why the earth wraps around the sun, and why the moon wraps around the earth. It's why everything moves from through heat and cold, through two opposite forces, ebb and flow. There is a cycle of day and night, or plus and minus, or reception and bestowal, or light and vessel, that is constantly happening. And that creates evolution, that creates the next level of life. And that's why we have always two opposites in reality that are gradually creating the next level of life. It's this cycle between plus and minus, reception and bestowal, the creator and the created being. It's the relationship between them, that is creating everything, doing everything. Now, that manifests in our spiritual growth as the experience of being within my own reason and then rising above my reason to a higher level of attainment, level of discovery, level of feeling. And what that article essentially is telling us is that in order to advance, we're going to need the next day, the next daylight, the next cycle. We're going to need the next wave of spirit, of clinging to a higher, rising to a higher degree than what we were before. And in that context, I'm trying to say, never trust. The Kabbalists say, don't trust yourself until the day you die. What does that mean? It means that, in a simple way, that until you complete your correction completely, then you always have where to evolve, where to develop, where to grow. And therefore, don't trust yourself in your current degree, because there is a higher degree that you want to advance to. So that's kind of what we're saying. I don't know if that was a successful
I think you nailed that one.
explanation,
I think that
but it
a
was
person,
ambitious. Yeah.
it's I think a person should see that they have an astrological existence, which means they live on a rock that's
Yeah.
spinning around a star. And so as long as they stay in one general place on that rock, it's going to get dark and then it's going to get light, unless you live at one of the poles. But in general, for the majority of people, you're going to have day, you're going to have night. You're going to have day, you're
Yeah.
going to have night. Now, while that process is happening, if you get good at it, you can internally not be tied to the astrology. So, for example, if you go back into history, before there was electricity, we don't even have to go back that far. Before there was electricity. So people in general, when it got dark out, you went to sleep.
Isn't
when it
that
got
crazy?
light
Just a
out-
quick pause for a second. Isn't that insane
plug for electricity.
that we didn't have electricity? What, 200 years, 150 years ago, something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's nothing. That's like, that's like two people dying right after each other, kind of thing. That's it.
Yeah.
About
That's it. And the
1945
world,
in
it's such a good, yeah. Give us the data.
1925, 100 years ago, only half of American houses had electric.
There you go. Okay, so no, I was pretty close. Okay, so let's say 150 years ago, electricity was not even a thing. It was just maybe, a few researchers dealt with it. It was not a thing. It was not a thing that people lived with. Think about, and we're building our whole understanding of reality and what is work and when do we work and what do we do, and we're building that on the thing we take for granted, that there is electricity. And so it just goes to show, it's not another excitement about technology
I love the
thing.
tangents,
It's just that it goes to show how limited we are in understanding, where we truly are, what is really happening in reality, and how much we're judging everything based on a very limited picture. What happens to you in spiritual development is that you expand you expand that bubble, that picture, more and more and more. And then you get to reevaluate everything. That's why you can't trust yourself if you're talking about spiritual development, because you have to acquire a new attainment of reality from which you will have a new mind and a new evaluation of reality and a new understanding of life, a new understanding of what you're doing here. There's the famous Kabbalist who said, I have a new creator every day. Of course, the religious communities of the time, related to that as heretic, things that should never be
Heresy.
said, and That's also why there's such a dissonance between religious religious Judaism and Kabbalah. There's a lot of conflict there because it's basically opposite the approach in terms of the approach towards the Creator. One is based on belief and concealment, and one is based on revelation and discovery. The latter being Kabbalah. So so that's what we mean when we say to rise above our minds or not to trust yourself, because we are climbing to higher degrees where a new mind, new heart is acquired every time. Yeah, no, what happened, Seth, was that you poked me, and rightly so, and now I have to I have to correct that. Yeah, no, you're right though. You're right. So, we say a lot of things that need to be heard qualified. with the right preparation, context. Anyways, so that was the electricity tangent.
No, Asaf said we can't trust ourselves, or I don't know, something that would sound taken out of context. Very.
No, you're right. You're right, though.
It didn't make any sense.
So before electricity, for the most part, we worked during the day and we slept during the night. And if I had a problem, I would deal with it when the sun rises again, because when there's no light out, that's when I'm sleeping.
Can't do nothing.
Oh and man, it sounds like an awesome life. To be, it's like, hey, it's dark. It's dark. We're done. We're done for the day.
And even that, I remember visiting my dad's office when I was a little kid, and they were using fax machines and typewriters. It's like you would send somebody a letter. Even before that, you would send someone a letter. A few days later, they would get the letter. They would reply back, and you'd get it. Today, you get 50 emails in a day, and if you don't respond, people think you died. It's such a different concept of time.
Yeah.
But today, we could even see in our corporeal lives how we're not limited by just the astrological cycle. How a person can compress and do many things. You could listen to a book in audio and you can speed it up to 2 times. And now something that would take you 16 hours, you can do in much less. And you can do it while you're sitting in traffic, while before you couldn't read a book if you had to wait till you got home. So much can be compressed. Now, more than all of this, everybody, is spirituality, where when you learn to identify these processes going on inside of you, by going to events like this, by leaving from them, starting to feel what happens there, starting to feel these new places. In addition, which I hope everyone takes a little bit today of the session about the amygdala and the prefrontal and starts to calm themselves down and starts to manage and understand what's going on in their life, you now also have this other whole system of ins and outs, of light and dark, of feeling up and feeling down, that maybe you get 5 days in one day. Maybe you get 10 spiritual days in one day. And you can start to speed up your process, and we'll have to discuss more and more what it means that a Kabbalist lives in 2 worlds. And I still don't think we solved why we have to be in this crappy world also, but we should talk about
I still want to know
more.
why I need to sleep, because that is kind of weird.
Why we need to sleep. Stay tuned next time. Friends, it is a joy to be with you. It is such a gift to have friends like you and to be able to be engaged in this. Friends who are joining us, we're going to read all of your messages. I see a lot of messages over there. Hayes is typing up a storm. So we'll read all of that. And from joining us from all around the world, I see Kev joined us from Ireland. Hello, Kev.
Hey, Kevin.
India and a bunch of other places over here. So we'll be back next Tuesday.
It's good to be back. Eastern. It's good to be back. Yeah.
Yep.
Big hug.
All right.
Hold on, everybody. It's going to be a fun ride.
Do it.
One for all and all for one. Who's right or wrong don't matter none. We're talking about survival of the human race, connecting love or burning hate. Which one will be our common fate? It's time for the arrival. A unity, y'all get it straight. We will overcome as one all of these troubles like battles we fight. Opportunity comes when we disagree, so we can finally see that from the dark night we will raise the dawn. Loving each other together, we'll sing one song. War brings the need to finally realize all of our dreams in peace. I mean, mine is how we live.